point of the horoscope is the actualization of the sun sign. The rest of the planets work together to unfold its destiny. The role of Mars in the chart is to protect and defend this process. It shows how we handle challenges in life. It's the way we go about getting what we want and the gratification of desires. What do we make of Mars when it's in the sign of Cancer, the crab? Here we've moved into the element of water, and all the Marses in water have something in common. The element causes the warrior planet to act out of emotion and intuition. There's always something mysterious and complicated about them. And this is particularly true of Cancer. It's eccentric because it's associated with the moon. This is a planet that changes radically each month, going through 4 distinct phases. So we know that when Mars is here, the actions of the person can change considerably over a short period. Energy will ebb and flow, flux and cycle, and even vanish for a time. In other words, Mars in Cancer goes through a lot of different moods. This sign is also linked to fertility, conception, gestation, birth, and mothering. So, how does the most masculine planet operate in such a feminine arena? He has his ways. For one, there's a drive to nourish and make things grow. This Mars is a gardener. Gardening may happen on an actual plot of land, but a lot of things can be tended and cared for similarly. From a family to students, from relationships with coworkers to a career. Perceiving what someone or something needs to flourish and then providing that thing is one of the greatest strengths of this Mars. It's wise to a universal truth. What you pay attention to flourishes, and what you ignore shrinks and dies. So this placement likes to be there, stay in one place, and remain engaged. Remember, the crab has some pretty big claws. They assert themselves and get what they want by latching on and bringing projects through the growth cycle into maturity. Mars in the 4th sign cares deeply. When it feels something is important, it takes that mission personally. It defends what it loves, just as a parent defends a child. Mars in Cancer is also associated with imagination and oceanic sentimentality. It carries a world of images and dreams that usually have to do with food, family, clan, the tribe, the mother's breast, perhaps the goddess herself. There's an immense subjectivity here, a sense that if they feel it, that thing is true and valid. This Mars is also empathic. It will fight for the poor, the needy, the bullied, the homeless, the lost. Mars is the expression of our active energy. In Cancer, it has an introverted nature. Its sensitivity means that it needs time for contemplation where rest can be found. This placement is obsessed with safety, and it's safe to be in respite. It's safe to keep close bonds. It's safe to be loved, to have a home, to have a clan, and to explore oneself within the private depths of the emotional world. In terms of style, this Mars goes about getting what it wants mostly through tenacity. They think, stick with it, and it doesn't really matter how soft your touch is. Water can turn the biggest boulders into sand with enough time and consistent action of the waves. And perseverance is a primitive but highly effective way to achieve goals. Another aspect of the crab's manner can be seen by observing a crustacean on the beach. If it sees something that looks inviting, the crab takes a careful serpentine route to it. It never approaches anything directly. And Mars in Cancer won't leap at a delicious looking objective either. It will circle instead, zeroing in as it assesses the safety and emotional tenor of the situation. Consider that when you look at the crab, you see one overwhelming feature of it, the shell. At a glance, the crab is all defense. It can pinch you, but it doesn't have a weapon full of venom like the other shelled creature, Scorpio. And this shows the basic gentleness of Cancer. Lacking traditional offensive tactics and being attuned to emotion is a combination that can result in being manipulative. This sneakiness is the dark side of the crab and a considerable percent of its arsenal when engaged in a fight. One of its favorite ways to manipulate is to feign helplessness or to guilt people into giving attention. But manipulation can go both ways, and this Mars is vulnerable to being manipulated by guilt too. Here the zodiac gives some advice. Mars carries a sword. The message of that symbol is that we're to cut ourselves away from others so that we as individuals can assert our will and our autonomy. Mars in Cancer is often deeply involved in family relationships, so it's important for them to use the sword to cut the appropriate umbilici, but keep nourishing real relationships intact. This can be rather difficult for Mars in Cancer because one of its biggest fears is being alone. The masculine ideal here is a family man who feels especially good about being an active dad, a strong, protective, and yet sensitive man who has a solid place in the nuclear family, especially as a good provider. They aren't interested in carving out wild modern forms of family that need to be explained. They're old-fashioned when you get down to it. A woman with Mars in Cancer is likely to be drawn to a man who's complicated, a temperamental but basically stable, somewhat needy man. Mars in Cancer, you see, needs to be needed. Thank you for watching Secrets from an Astrologer's Desk, Mars in Cancer. Stay tuned for all the ways you can get in touch for a birth chart reading and full astrological services. I'm Joy. More videos to come.